Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about the new Kai Icon deck, or the new version of Dragonic Overlord, whichever term you would personally prefer. Uh, I've been really excited about this deck. If you guys checked out, I did an opening of some of the Japanese decks for the Kai Icon because I love Overlord, as you can tell. I post about it on this channel like every time there's an update. I love the deck. Uh, I managed to pull the 15th SP. If I could get that on camera a little better. I managed to pull this out of my last trial deck that I opened up, and I was super excited. I was a little upset I didn't get a God deck, but that's okay. Uh, Overall, start this off. This deck is really good. It's very reminiscent of old Kagero, where it's just very grindy. You retire your opponent's rear guards. The only difference is you're kind of gaining more advantage than you did when you used to play Kagero, because there was a lot of there's a bit of drawing cards and a bit of defense to this deck, which old-fashioned Kagero didn't have. But it brings back a lot of cool units, which is really cool. And we'll get into the profile. So we're gonna start off with the ride line. We have the man, the myth, the legend. We have Conroe. We have Embodiment of Armor Bar. Bar, what he does is when you ride him, you show that you have a Kai Icon grade 3 in your ride deck. You get to call Conroe out from the soul, and Conroe gets the ability until the end of the fight to retire itself and add any grade 1 from your deck to hand, which is just, it's awesome. It's very reminiscent of the old one. You can grab your perfect guards, you can grab Elementary Sanctitude, you can grab Scarlet Flame if you really need it. There's a lot of good things you can grab off this. We have Dragonite Nahalim, which when he's placed on Vanguard, you're going to look at top 7 for a non-Sentinel Kai icon. So you grab your Persona Rise, which is really cool, or you grab your Berserk Dragons, or even more copies of him, because we do play more copies of him, but we'll get into that when we get to that. And of course, Dragonic Overlord himself. So this guy, what he does is end of battle that he attacks, you can counterblast one to restand him and he loses a drive check. But if you Persona Road that turn, you put a card from hand into Soul. He doesn't lose the drive check, and then your front row gets +5. So on Persona Ride, you're getting 4 drive checks off of him, which is really cool. And he's buffing up the front row. His other ability, which doesn't come up too often, is uh, at the end of on a rear guard, at the end of the battle that he attacks a rear guard, you energy blast 3 to restand him, but he has to be on rear guard. It's not too often that I do call him, but there has been like a really weird scenario where I was playing against my buddy who was playing for Gilla, and he had the thing that said you can't retire it with effects, so I rode Vortex Dragon, I called this, and I just swung into it, so I could bait out some guard from his hand. So the Energy Blast 3 does come up, but it's not where we're really concerned about putting our energy towards the deck. And one other important thing is anything with a Kai icon can Persona Ride on top of it that's grade 3. So the Vortex that we play, like this guy, you can Persona Ride on top of this, and you can do it vice versa. So it doesn't have to be the same name, which is really nice. Going into the I'm gonna start with all the Kai Icon cards first because that is the big new portion of the deck, and I do want to discuss some of the cards and how good they do. So we're playing 3 copies of uh, Overlord, so we're having 3 extra copies of Persona, which we do play a certain card that wards playing extra copies of these because I don't think Vortex is particularly the best card to be on at all times. So definitely play 3 copies of Overlord, and I'm playing 3 copies of Vortex Dragon. So Vortex Dragon has the same stipulation where a Kai icon can Persona Ride on top of this, so you can swap between the two, or you can keep riding Vortex. Uh, it gets 10k shield if you have a Vanguard with the icon. It gets 10k power if one of your opponent's rear guards was retired or your Vanguard restood, which is really good. And then its main Vanguard skill is to activate main, counterblast 1, Soul Blast to grade 3, retire your opponent's front row, and then you get the ability that when he swings, you get to restand one column and give it +5. But if you Persona Road, you get to restand two columns, which is really nice. So you never want to put him in the ride deck. There's just no point to. But he's really good as a like late game finisher if you need the 5 attacks. Typically though, I mostly use him for shield because he is a 10k shield, which is really nice. Uh, but there are some scenarios it is better to, instead of Persona riding on Overlord, to Persona ride on Vortex Dragon. So very important to play a couple copies of him. You can cut it down to 2 copies if you want to, but I do like having 3 just because it is extra shield. Onto the grade 2 Kai icons. We got 4 copies of Berserk Dragon. Now, Berserk has a really good ability, which is on play from hand. You can uh, either Counterblast or Soul Blast 2 to do one of the following, and if your Vanguard is at grade 3, you get +5 for this on play. So you either draw a card or retire one of your opponent's rear guards. So more often than not, I end up just drawing a card off of him because I want to keep my hand full. But there are times you can just retire some of your opponent's like pesky rear guards and stuff and get them out of the way. Uh, the other important thing is when you are at grade 3, he swings for 15, but when your opponent's at grade 3 and you have the icon, he swings for 20. So he's a really nice beater for the deck. We like having him around. And I play 3 more copies of Nahalem. Now, I told you what he does when you ride him, but I didn't explain his drop zone effect, which is very important, which is why we play the extra copies. When your Kai Icon Vanguard is placed, you get to do either one of 2 things. You can, if you don't have a rear guard with his name, you can call him from the drop and give himself and your Vanguard +5. So if you have one in your drop, your Overlord's going to be like 18 on the first grade 3 turn, which is kind of nice. Uh, or you can bind him from your drop zone, and you don't have to pay for the counterblast for your grade 3's ability this turn, uh, which is really nice because it lets you free up resources to use Berserk Dragon, or if your opponent's damage deny you, they can't really damage deny you because you'll just get rid of this and not pay the cost for it. It also lets you use the next card in the grade 1 portion very aggressively, so it's really nice, and that is why I chose to max out on it. I don't see a world where you want to not play 4 copies, like the one on the ride deck and 3 here. Uh, so yeah, we'll just keep that. And on to the grade 1s with the icon. So we have 4 copies of Jaren. Jaren, if he boosts Taegis, which we don't play, and I'll explain that in a little bit. If he boosts Taegis, he gives an extra 5. But when he's placed, you can counterblast 1 to look at top 5 for a Kai icon without the Sentinel. Uh, Add it to your hand, and then if you didn't hit 1, you countercharge 1, which is really nice. So it gives you a little deck thinning and lets you find some of your pieces. And 4 perfect guards. 3 of them are Kai icons, so I'll show them off. I love having Bari back, so it's really cool. And the 1 Sanctitude. Now, that is it for the Kai icon cards. And I'm going to get into why Taegis or Gojo isn't in this deck as we go through the the non-engine of this deck, or the generics, whatever you would prefer to call it. So let me just sneak a couple of these guys here. Alright. So first of all, our Regalis piece, we're doing Fire Regalis. The thing about this is you can either play Fire Regalis or Twin Cast. Either of them are good options. I think with how the meta is currently, I like having the Fire Regalis just so I can uh, fill up spots for anything my opponent has retired, because the main deck right now that most people are playing is the Aichi icon, so they're going to be spamming Blaster Blade because they've kind of learned that that is probably the best thing to do with the deck, is just like pick off your opponent's stuff and make sure they can't hold board presence. So having this is nice. It also deck thins you 1 card, which means you're getting closer and closer to just flipping triggers when you do your drive checks, which Overlord loves having extra crits on him. We're playing 3 copies of Scarlet Flame. We're not playing 4. The reason we're not playing 4 is because I don't want to have that many bricks, but you can also search it out with Conroe if you ever desperately need it. But you will see this card at 3, so it's not that big of a deal. Um, the big importance of this is obviously we get the double persona ride because this is Dragonic Overlord. The other effect where you can grab an Overlord from deck and ride it for Energy Blast 3 just doesn't come up. So it is good to play this card. I just don't think it's good to max out on this card in this specific list. I'm playing 4 copies of Bellicosti Dragon. So Bellicosti Dragon gets us a draw 2, which is really nice, and it's also swings for 20k, which is really nice. That's kind of the mentality I had with this. Is if I have energy to be using in the deck, I kind of want to use it on either cards that are filling up my hand or like doing something for me actively, uh, which is why, as you'll see in the next couple of cards, the ace unit is not in there because I just don't think it's that worth it. And rounding it up, we have 3 copies of Beliagro and 2 copies of Fallheart. So here's, get on the screen there, buddy. There we go. So here's the thing. The ace unit conflicts with all of the energy blasters that I'm using because I highly prioritize them because I think they have better effects than what the ace unit can bring to the table. Plus, the ace unit has no shield value. So I'd rather play like 2 copies of Falheart than 1 copy of Falheart, 1 copy of the ace unit. That's where I stand on that. Beliagro, you don't need 4 copies, but you can easily play 4 copies if you would like. You can cut out um, you could probably cut the one of the Vortex Dragons if you really want to, or this could even turn into this if you really want to play 4 copies of it. So the thing is, this kind of makes up for the shield value that we're losing with Wyvern Strike Taegis, and it's more dual modal. So with Taegis, you don't have something you can move to the back row and boost with, which is kind of awkward. Mind you, it does make a big column with Jaren, which is really nice, but it's not doing as much as you think it would do. So having a Beliagro is just more important in my personal opinion. Obviously, if you cannot afford it, I mean, you play Taegis as whatever. And the same kind of logic goes for Gojo. Again, I want the non or I want like cards that really do something. And while Gojo does call himself back to the rear guard circle, which is really nice, it doesn't do much for this deck. Like, it really doesn't do much. If you were like, I have to play Gojo because I think Gojo's broken, you could probably consider cutting these for 2 copies of Gojo. I just don't think it's worth it. I think you're better off putting it towards cards that are effectively doing something in your deck. This card does have an extra purpose, which hasn't happened often. There was like one game where I did it where I had extra energy. I drew this for turn. I Persona Road, and I just called it back and got a grade 1 back. Uh, it can come up. It's not often. I think Falhard is a very good thing to include in the deck just to have, a little extra defense, a little extra card draw. So that is it for the main deck or the main portion of it. And moving on to the triggers are really standard. We've got Drag Veda. I mean, Drag Veda with Overlord is just, it's always been really good. There's no reason not to play Drag Veda. We've got 4 copies of Tar. I'm so glad to have him back. And 4 copies of, well, that's going off the screen. Let's try that again. 4 copies of Rakshasa. So, again, really good to have these guys back. There's no reason to play any less than 8 criticals, so we're going to play 8 criticals. We are playing 3 fronts because fronts are just really good in the deck. And then we are playing 4 copies of the heal trigger, Genjo. Great to have Genjo back too. Um, you could be playing the restanding one, but there is a lot of, how do I put it? There's a lot of weird stuff in the format right now where I don't feel comfortable playing like too many copies of the restand heal, but you could easily swap one out if you feel like it's pretty good. But I'm just keeping it safe and sticking with the vanilla triggers for now and just calling it. You don't need the effect crits. The effect crits only really come up if you are playing against like prison, but even then you have plenty of ways to soul charge, so it's like you're not missing out that much, man. But that is it for the profile. Really, I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. Uh, give you guys a brief little like schedule update, I suppose. Oop, there you go. Give you a brief little schedule update. So this was our little break from doing set 13. So when we come back, the next thing should be Bear Crea. It should be Bear Crea. Blank Phantom is also a deck that I will show off. Levy Dross got his stuff, so I will at least talk about that. Uh, and then there's Growin Dragon. I do want to talk about Growin Dragon. The issue is I'm not like I haven't found like where I want all of the pieces yet, like at what ratios. So I kind of want I got to keep testing that one out before I have an official thing for that. Um, and obviously, since I'm showing off the Overlord icon deck, I should address I will not be showing off the Aichi icon. I don't think the deck's very enjoyable. I don't. I'm not a big fan of that kind of Royal Paladin in general. Like I've just never been a Blaster Blade kid, so that's not gonna get shown unless like one of my buddies wants to lend me a deck and I can show it off to you. But like I wouldn't expect it. I also don't want to spend like that much money on any of the cards. Like it's ridiculous. But that's gonna do it for this deck profile. I will catch you guys in the next video and have a good rest of your day. Peace.